Well, good evening, everyone. This is Barry's Best Honey. I'm Mike, and well, I do bees. But this evening, we're not doing bees. No, it's too late. And you can probably guess what I am doing. I'm in the honey house. Not going to go through a bunch of harvesting for you. I'll talk to you while I'm cutting frames here in a minute. I'm just getting started, so I'm going to get going a little bit, get some things rolling, and I want to show you something. And I shot a clip a couple weeks back, and I want to show you the results that I found in that clip. So let me get started on some of this stuff. It is July 8th, by the way. I'm stacking a lot of videos together because I got a lot going on, so I'm not going to be able to get out there. But nonetheless, I pulled on July 4th and 5th, both days. I ended up pulling about 35 more supers. And I still left like anywhere from 14, 16, something like that out there. So I counted something like that out there left on the hives. They're just gonna have to wait till August. So we're rounding out at least 2,500 pounds right now. And I've got these to finish up right here that you see in the back. Yeah, 15 left. So that means I did 20 the last 2 nights. So I'm only doing about 10, 12 a night because I'm having to do this after work. And then I gotta get up early in the morning and drain out the honey that's left in there. As you can see, he says shake it. That's 5 gallons of honey right in there. I got buckets stacked everywhere. This is what happens every year until I can finally get done. I made a nice stack over here now. All across the way, holds like 28 or 30 buckets there. And then I've got all my containers for bottling in these totes. And of course I have containers, glass over here, and my little bottling station I set up now. And then so all these are all done already, and those are all done, and I've already put another couple stacks like that out on the stands. So if I counted up all the supers that I've pulled since spring, and reuse them not, but the total supers on hives and extraction is going to be around 90, 95, I think, when it's all said and done. So it's going to be a nice bumper crop. We're not quite hitting my record yet, but we're doggone sure close. But anyway, let me get busy, get started, get in the rhythm going. I got some stuff I want to show you, and then we'll go into that other clip. So I'm getting ready to start up the old extractor, and let me show you what I've been doing. I had some uncapped frames early on, and I still have some more, but it's only 1 or 2 out of a super. Some supers I had a bunch, and I was randomly checking those. But I haven't been worried too much with moisture. I had a couple of high frames, high moisture contents, but what I've been doing is I do 2 random checks out of the extractor. Do that first one, it's really looks thin every time it pops out. Square buckets. Round. There's the old square peg round hole, or square hole round peg. Yeah, I know this is not an extraction video, but I'm going to show you anyway what I'm doing. See how it gets all runny? Sorry you're shaking on the cardboard, but that first bunch it looks runny, but it's the first one. I take this old refractometer, I take a little bit of this honey, and there's a couple drops on there. Good enough. And I read it real quick, and then I'll take another one as we get part the way through the batch. And oh wow, that's 15 and a half. That's almost getting too dry. That's why it was so hard to uncap. It was so thick. I've been running 16 and a half on most of it. On average, I'd say 16 and a half. Wipe this thing down dry and do it again. Let some more come out, and then I'll do it again. That just gives me 2 checks in the run. Makes me feel better. I used to never use a refractometer, and I didn't have a problem with a lot of fermented honey, but over the past 4 years I've been doing a lot of uncapped stuff and getting everything done at one time, and kind of get you nervous then because you're storing this stuff for a long time, and I don't need to have buckets busting open. I mean, I've had fermented honey, but thank goodness I haven't had a lot, and I don't want a lot. So I want to check it, but I've started drying it in these last 4 years, and that's really been the ticket. So now we'll grab another little bit of this, and this is usually a little thicker, so I get the stuff that's halfway through and the very beginning. I figure the very beginning has got to be the most liquidy, watery, it's coming out. I mean, it's going to sling out first, I guess. I don't know if that's right or not. It just sounds right. And this one, I'm looking at the light. It's running consistently 15.5 as well. So that's a consistent run on this one. And we're good. Spin it out. Actually, it's balanced really good. We can speed her up a little bit. Yeah. Good running extractor. I know. Are those your legs, Mike? Or are you riding a chicken? I know. I had a guy say that one time to a buddy of mine. All right, here's what I was going to show you. So I got a box of 9-frame setup, and I mean, you see the bottom. This isn't even a fully filled out 9-frame frame of itself. That one isn't even really filled out. This is actually a slack box, but you can see, well, there's a dead bee, but this is an old, man, this is an old frame, wired wax, but you can see how thick the bottom is. And the thing with 9 frames, I run 9 frames, and I've told y'all this before. That's an old drone, got hung in there. Anyway, I've picked these boxes up and thought, wow, they're so much heavier. And so I saw Stan Gore on Texas Friendly Beekeepers. They were weighing frames. Some people were talking about how heavy the frames were and such. And so I was thinking, well, shoot, it depends what kind of frame you weigh. You weigh one that comes out of a 9-frame box, it's ought to be a lot heavier. And so I decided I'm going to weigh one, a box, not a frame. And because I know they're heavier, I picked them up. And I've said it in videos, when you pick a 9-frame up that's full, it's a lot different than a 10-frame that's full, in my opinion, from what I've felt. And this year, I said the tallow flow was average because I don't think it was super spectacular. In my area, I'm seeing frames like, okay, so normally that thing would be so fat. I ran across a few from in town. They were just so fat. P-H-A-T fat. I'm talking fat. And they're just so thick. And so when the tallow flow is really good, these 9-framers are all the way out. But even so, with an average tallow flow, this is still out. And one of the great things, besides the fact that I knew they're heavier, and people always said you would get more honey from a 9-frame box than a 10-frame box. I didn't really think about it too much. But they're also just easier to uncap. The fellow that kind of got me on it was talking about how easy they are to uncap, because you just run it down the board, right down the frame rails, and you don't miss because they're so thick. They're already sticking out. Where a 10-frame, I'll do one of those. So it's not that I'm super fast uncapping. It's super easy. I miss those spots because I'm not concentrating, but that's my fault. But I didn't follow the board down. You follow the board down and they go so fast. I got a 10-frame over here. So you pull out the 10-frame. This is a brand new frame, 2024. Got the 4 on it in green. And let's pull a thin one. Yeah, okay. This is a more thin one on my 9-frame. Let's see. I mean, look at the bottoms. So, like, if you compare the bottoms, look at the one side. You see. And this is a nice 10-frame. Nothing wrong with beautiful honey. You got to curve your knife in, though, because if you look, the top, and like I said, these 9-framers aren't even filled out like they would be if we had a super spectacular flow. But you can even look at the top, and the 10-frame sticks out enough to where the knife grabs it. The 9-frame one does. The 10-frame one, you got to kind of ease the knife in. With my knife, I got to bend it in a little bit. If I'm using a rigid knife, that's a pain. I'm going to be scratching a lot of that. So I tell you, I like the 9 frames, and I'm going to show you a clip of the weight difference in the boxes as I put this frame back. Another thing I noticed, I can make one run because this holds 18 frames. So if I make a run of 2 9-frame boxes, it fills up 1 5-gallon bucket, and I have to pull the strainer off and actually put it on a second bucket and let the residual continue to come out. I was averaging 2.5 to 3 gallons a box on the on my harvest so far. And I'll tell you, that's rolling in some honey. And last night I was pulling some out. They were fat. I mean, just humongous frames. Those were from the yard in town. And I tell you what, I was like, wow. They were so heavy too. My fingers and my hands are hurting today from just picking them all up. So let me send you over to the other clip and check this out. It's to me pretty amazing. I suspected it all along, but I got to prove it to myself. So take a look. Always wondered about this, never did it. Stan Gore, Texas Friendly Beekeepers, actually gave me the idea. He was weighing frames individually, people getting big frames and all that, and I got to thinking, well, I wonder what a 9-frame box is compared to a 10-frame box. A true well drawn out full 9-frame versus a well drawn out full 10-frame, and I happen to have a couple. I actually have a few 9 frames and one 10 frame. And I know I feel the difference in them when I pick them up. So now, I've already got my tear weight. I don't know if I'm going to tell you what that is, because that's me. I'm going to get on the scale, and I'm going to tell you the difference in the two. Because if I tell you the actual weight, you might guess my weight. Now, I'm about 250. My tear was 249 and a half. I'm going to take that half. Let's weigh them and see. All right. True full frame 9-frame box. Let this. $306 is what I'm weighing on this. 306. I'm gonna do it again. Let's see. The glare. All right. True 9-frame full box. It's showing 306. Yes, 306. Here's a true 10-frame box. That's heavy. It's not 306 pounds. You know that, right? Nah. Here's a 10 frame. This is the one from the video we did. $297. So there you go. 306. We'll just say 250. I'll take the 0.5. So that's easy enough. 56 pounds versus 47 pounds. So almost a 10-pound difference in boxes. 306 versus 297. Subtract 250. There you go. Basically, the actual numbers are a 9-pound difference. Now my wife brought up a good point. She's like, yeah, but what if you got a little bit of heavier box? What about that one extra frame of weight? You really technically should subtract that, kinda equalize it, average it, and all that stuff. That's why I run 9-frame fat frames. P-H-A-T, fat frames. One disclaimer. I gotta do a disclaimer, or actually not even a disclaimer. Let's qualify that entire test that is not scientific whatsoever using a bathroom scale, my tear weight versus the boxes. Let's clarify one thing. I went through and picked out the most full 9-frame box with 9-frame spacers in it, okay? So it was rigged, if you want to say that, but it's got 9-frame spacers to make sure they're spaced exactly evenly, and I picked out one with the fattest frames because I wanted to get what the best you can do is. Versus a beautifully drawn out 10-frame that, if you can see in there, that's as beautifully drawn from wall to wall as possible. Matter of fact, I want to pull them out so you can see. And this is a beautiful 10-frame box. Nothing wrong with a beautiful 10-frame box of honey. Not at all. It's still a good amount of honey, but they're close to the frame and they're all exactly like this. I love these new frames like this. To me, they're some of the most beautiful examples of God's creation when it comes to that beautiful honeybee and what they can do. Okay, so they're all like this, even the outside ones. Now, outside ones always have a little piece of fat comb on them because they got a little extra gap on the outside, like that one, but just wall-to-wall capped. So 10 frame capped wall-to-wall, uniformly drawn out against a uniformly drawn out full 9 frame. Got a 9-pound difference. So there you go, folks. I mean, now granted, those boxes were absolutely the premier of each of their own, a premier 10 frame and a premier 9 frame. But just, you know, just goes to show they can build that stuff out really, really well when they have the room. Now, I've heard people talking about brood boxes in 9 frames. I don't know about that, because then they build that top section of honey out, but the brood they don't, because the brood's going to be the same because it's worker brood. So to me, that doesn't make any sense, because and also no reason to. I don't think I want more frames of bees than I want, you know what I mean? Like in honey, I want more frames of honey, and I want them fatter that hold more. But in a brood box, I want that extra frame because I want, those are extra cells for bees. Each hole doesn't contain more bees. Each hole contains the same amount, where with honey, each hole contains more honey because they bring it out further. I guess that's the best way to explain it in my little mind trying to figure it out. Plus, they're not going to build the brood out any further, but they will build the honey out further. And so now you got frames fat at the top and skinny at the bottom. And to me, that just makes for a painful day. So this Hive Butler is loaded with frames. All right, so I was going through this. I'm going to pick a few out and show you. And I've heard of this before. I heard it, and I saw it on a video. Somebody talked about it. I never saw it in person. And then we had a person way back when at the meeting had said something about this particular happening. And then Eddie came to the meeting last month, and he said it happened to him. And what it is, I was going through these. It's when I first started. I pulled this. I don't know which hive it was. I pulled this off, and I see all this. Maybe you can't see it in the camera, but this honey running down. And these bulging, and you know what I'm going to say here in a minute. I know you do. These bulging caps. What's going on? Where'd this honey come from? There was only one box on top. It didn't drip a bunch of honey. And the frame I actually uncapped. I uncapped one, uncapped the second one, and that second one, I stopped. Something didn't look right. And I'm going to show you. I don't know if it's not doing it anymore. But this is the frame I uncapped. So I got that side. It's already dripped out and blown out. And then I uncapped this one. And this one, it might still be doing it. But when I uncapped this frame, it was foaming. And there's a couple cells right there that are still foaming. There's one right there that's still foaming. It's fermented in the frame. This honey was fermented and was bubbling and foaming up. And I'm like, uh-oh, that ain't good. So I got to looking at the frames. I've never seen it. I've heard of it. I've never seen it. And I mean, look, this frame, when I uncapped it, it was amazing. It looked like a soda, a soft drink, just foaming out of there. And so I got to looking at the caps. I knew something looked strange with it. And I'll show you one. And let's cut one open and see if it's doing it. But see those bulging caps? See how they're busting open? They're bursting open, I should say. That's fermented honey bursting out, just like a jar when it pops. Same thing. Let's open it and see. So I checked the moisture, and it was like 20%. So what in the world would cause it? I'm not sure. I'm guessing the humidity in our air is terrible. A lack of a workforce, lack of bees. Maybe it came off a weak colony. I don't know. I don't know which one it came off of. But look, so I smelled it and tasted it, and it was tart, and it was definitely fermenting. So I'm going to cut this one. So those are fermenting cells right there in the cells. See those bulging white? That's foam underneath there. Let's cut it and see. I don't want to cut it over my uncapping tank. So I'm going to wash my knife when I'm done with this too. I don't want this stuff anywhere near my honey. Let's cut these old bulging caps off. Look at it. See those bubbles? Look how it's foaming out. It's fermented. See it all bubbly in there? I've heard of it and I saw it. I've seen it in pictures. I've seen it on forums. Look at it bubbling. But I had never seen it in person. And maybe I did see it back before I ever knew what it was and didn't notice it. But it's definitely fermented in there. And the moisture on that is probably about 20% water. I mean, you know, moisture-wise, whatever, water, whatever. So I'm guessing a hive that couldn't dry it properly maybe, or keep it dry. Maybe there's not enough numbers in that colony to keep fanning it. Here's the other side, same way, bubbling out. Right there. Look at that. Let's cut that one. Yep, same way, look. I'll show you. So I just cut that one off. Check it out. See that foam? And you can watch it bubble. Just full of air bubbles. It's fermented. Never seen it before, but in the cap. And I noticed, and first thing I noticed was all the honey running down the caps. I'm like, what in the world? I just couldn't understand why is all that. I was like, there's not a box above it that had a bunch of honey. I didn't have it stacked in the frame like that. And I just got to look at those caps and realized it. See, that one's starting to foam up a lot now. It's all going to foam out. So I put it on my Hive Butler, separated it. I got to get rid of it. So there you go. Another first for me. Heard of it again. Heard of it. Have seen pictures of it in, you know, like web pages or whatever, where people are asking questions. Had a person talk about it one time, and now Eddie showed up at the meeting. He had it happen to him, and now I got to see it firsthand. I'm glad it was the only one. And so now, of course, I'm watching for him because I can't have that. So yeah, I'm watching for it now. Well, all right, folks, that's it. I'm going to continue on. I got a few hours of this. I'm going to try and knock out at least 8 boxes. I think I got 6 about ready to spin, and kind of get a jump on this and then finish the rest tomorrow. And then most of my honey harvest will be done until I get back. See, this one they didn't build out. I'm telling you, it was an average tallow flow, just average in my opinion, at least in my area. I heard that from others as well. That they had, you know, wasn't everybody, the tallow just, I don't know, it just kind of fizzled. A day after it would bloom, it would just fizzle. It's just strange, but nonetheless, I'm not complaining. It's still a great flow. I'm having, I mean, not to mention that spring flow we had. Wow, we're rolling in the honey again, just like 2 years ago when we had that really bumper crop, which saved my tail the next year when we had 50% less yield because of the freeze on the tallow tree. So there you go. It all works out. I thank the Lord for it. I'm grateful. Grateful for a bountiful harvest. Man, it's awesome. All right, guys. Well, look, I'm gonna go ahead and roll. I appreciate all y'all watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. It's Barry's Best Honey. I'm Mike. I did bees. Well, I didn't really do bees. I did honey. Y'all have a wonderful, wonderful week, and may God bless you all. We'll see you later.